In esports, what's the difference between a professional team and an amateur team? And more importantly, what's the difference between teams who win all the time and teams who rarely ever crack the top? Another way you could phrase this is, why do certain teams consistently win, and why do certain players constantly elevate themselves above the rest? In this video, we're going to take a look at the good habits of professional players and why they set themselves above the competition again and again, and how you as a player may be able to take some of these and apply them to your own game. I'll be using the game Paladins since I'm a caster for this and talking about the top teams, why they stay at the top, and why some of the challenging teams have a very hard time cracking that barrier, and what I think could be the key to them moving up in success and overtaking some of the big dogs, and also pointing out why they have yet to do that as of now. But before we talk about new teams taking the top spot, let's talk about why the top spot is so often held by the same few teams. Increasing diversity in an esport is not as easy as it sounds, especially as you're trying to grow the scene. Part of the growth and sustainability of an esport scene is it allows its players to play that competitively at a high enough level and at a livable income. This means you need to support situations to where the best players can consistently shine and prove themselves, and also make money from that and stay invested in your game. Now, this can be fantastic, but also comes with a potential negative, which is isolating the best teams from everybody else besides themselves. Sure, the money goes to the top teams, the sustainability and the namesake goes to the top teams, but it doesn't allow newer players or newer amateur teams to face off against the competition they'll actually need to beat very consistently. But real sports don't give people that chance. It's not like you can go to college and face off against LeBron James to know what you'll be playing when you get drafted into the NBA. It just doesn't work that way. But the fact that there is a level of college play that allows players to nurture their skills so that the best players can stand out and join that higher level of play is important. The first good habit of being a competitive player is actually expecting to win. And this is not an easy skill for most people to have. Expecting to win is an important aspect of any high-level athlete because it shows confidence in yourself, and it shows confidence in your teammates as well. Somebody who's confident is able to communicate clearly. Imagine if you have an idea and you believe that you know exactly what needs to get done to create a result at work that your team wants to create. If you tell somebody to do this, to do this, to do this, and they all do it, it seems like you're going to get the ball rolling, versus if you have a meeting and you sit there and you say, I'm not really sure what to do. Anybody else have any ideas? What do you think? That could work, but might not. I truly believe and have seen that most people's achievements are the result of their clarity of vision for what they wanted to achieve. When it comes down to the wire, when it's that last moment and you need to make a split decision call, trusting your instincts to either use your ultimate to go on to a certain target, to back off when you think it's appropriate, can be the difference between winning a game or losing. In fact, many pros are just really good players. They're not this special gift from God. They train hard, they practice, but the most important thing that separates them from you and me is they believe that they can go pro. They take the steps then that result from someone believing they could and should go pro, and they end up pro. There are always varying levels of talent in any professional field, but the most consistent experience I have had is that those who believe they can win usually end up doing so. And to be truthful, if you don't believe you can win, if you don't believe you can become a pro, if you don't believe you can have success at the highest level, you're going to be your own worst enemy, and you're almost going to self-sabotage your ability to do so, because belief is inherent to being able to push yourself to the next level, to put in those hours and know that they're going to be worth it. So much of your next steps come through believing that you can actually do it, that I think that is what most pros have above a lot of people who just are really good and play casually. The second good habit that I think most pros at the top have is that they're willing to lose and learn from their losses. One of the best things coming from the European scene of Paladins is the dynamic between D69 and Gangstars. From the onset of Paladins' inception as an esport, these two teams have battled out for supremacy of the realm. And guess what? Both of them have had it for long periods of time. What's so exciting about this dynamic is that it's ever changing. Gangstars at times are well and above beyond the skill and playing level of D69, whereas vice versa, out of nowhere D69 may come through and absolutely dominate a weekend or a significant tournament, cementing themselves back into the #1 position. D69 and Gangstars are essentially sitting on a teeter-totter. While one team goes up, the other goes down, and after a while, vice versa. If any of them committed to losing and actually accepted that they were worse or not as good, I doubt we'd see as many swings. As some of the best pros in the Paladin scene in general, not just Europe, these two have often committed to the fact that A, they are both #1, creating this constant struggle for the top spot, and 2, to learn from why they lost before and correct correct it so that the next big tournament, the next big chance, allows them to rise back to the top yet again. The summation of this point is that unlike many people in life and especially in competitive video games, the best professional teams do not consider losing to be permanent and only consider it a temporary status until they can be winners yet again. Life is ever changing and nothing is static. One failure doesn't mean you are a failure. It just means that you failed. And the best teams, especially professionals, take that to heart and understand that there's something to be learned and gained from each unsuccessful competition. Another invaluable habit that pro players and teams demonstrate consistently over their peers is the ability to adjust mid-fight. And not only mid-fight, but to switch up their tactics and take a different approach when things aren't working during a game. There have been many times when D69 or Gangstars were down 2-0 in a set against one another, and there have been many times in normal Summer Premier action where D69 found themselves behind in the tournament, but they didn't end up losing those games because they're so good at adapting to the situation and correcting anything that went wrong. In my life experience, adaptability is the key ingredient to having a successful career, and I really believe that if you apply this to competitive esports and take this to your own game, you will improve by leaps and bounds. Like I said, in life nothing is static. The world is ever changing, and especially the landscape of esports and competition. When you compare a game like Paladins from High Res Studios that updates every 2 weeks, being able to adapt to new champions, new balance decisions, and if you're playing Smite, new items. If you're playing another MOBA, it's new items, new characters, maybe a whole map redesign. The ability to adapt and respond to what's being thrown at you separates the best from the rest. All teams can take into account what happened as a result of a loss, but can you take into account what happened as a result of not winning a point fight or a single objective? The faster and more accurately you're able to address the keystone issue from the enemy team and execute a plan to solve it on your end, the more and more success you will have in your games. Another really important habit that high-level esports players do and a lot of casual players don't is they constantly communicate. I can't tell you how valuable it is to allow your teammates to know what's going on with your perspective. Just as it could be valuable to tell a loved one or someone you're in a relationship with how you feel about what went down. Let me tell you something for real. People are not mind readers. I tell my girlfriend this sometimes: if you don't tell me what's wrong, I don't know what's wrong. And the same goes for your teammates in games. If you don't tell them where you are, what you're doing, what skills you have available, and what skills are on cooldown, they don't have the correct amount of information to make the best decisions. Because the more you know that your ult is on cooldown, the more you know that you're seeing 5 members on the enemy team on the left side versus the right, the more you can all make educated decisions as to what you should do next. If I tell you to jump down a hole, you may say okay. But if I neglect to tell you that that hole is not only filled with bullet ants, scorpions, tarantulas, but also hot lava, intermingling and creating a spicy atmosphere your body doesn't want to encounter, then you probably don't have enough information to create the correct decision. I'm coming to help you. Without telling your teammate that you also don't have your movement skill or ultimate online could mean that they think you're able to contribute a lot more to the fight than you actually are able to do. This could result in you losing a 2v1 because both of you are unprepared and thinking that the other is more prepared than they are. One of the most transitional moments of my life when I was playing Smite a lot more was when I started working with someone who is now, I think, a Smite tactics streamer named Deathwalker. And no, he is not a pro Smite player, they just happen to have the same name. He was exceptionally good at the game, and one of the most important things he stressed to me was the fact that we needed to communicate every single moment. What are we doing? What do we have up? Where are we? Where's the enemy? And the more I did that, the more impactful my play was and the more times my team won the game. And truly, the better I became as a player. Now, if you're playing pickup games and you don't have a microphone, there are ways to get around this, especially in games like Smite or High Res, which have the VGS system. Telling someone that you have to retreat or to group up, or just typing that, hey, we should focus down this champion right now so they can't be as effective as they've been, can make a world of difference for you and your teammates. Communication is standard in high-level esports, but it's often very lacking in the casual community. So if you can bring communication to your squad and also encourage that amongst your teammates, you will have such better success when you play your games. The next and one of the most important good habits that professional esports players and teams have is the willingness and ability to innovate. Whether it's new champion drafts, new map picks, or new team compositions, the best of the best continually strive to create the meta and recreate the meta whenever it gets stale. This is one of the most important and foundational qualities not only in gaming but in life. From computers to cell phones to the internet itself, innovation has shaped the way that we live and also garnered the rules by which others in the society live by. And the same goes in esports. When a team is able to innovate, they often set the pace for everyone else involved. Specifically in Paladins, we can look to the example that QG Craze set in DreamHack Valencia. The big story of DreamHack Valencia revolves around the Chinese team QG Craze beating out the number 2 and number 3 seeded teams in the world, essentially turning Paladins esports on its head and changing the way everyone thought about drafting team compositions. Although QG Craze was incredibly skilled, what made them so dangerous was they were willing to play lineups that were completely foreign to everyone else. Because these lineups were so foreign and nobody prioritized their champions, they were able to pick them every single game and continue to win. But what's most interesting about this story is the inability for the top teams to also follow suit and innovate, or at least change their strategies. What ended up being a consistent and obvious choice from the QG Craze Chinese team was never taken away by either Europe or OCE, and that ended up being the crucial reason why both of those teams, highly rated and dominant in the Paladins esports scene, fell to the unknown 7th seed from China. When they met in the finals against their counterparts who were from North America, Team Cryptic, they became the first team in the entire tournament to take away the crucial aspects of their strategy, drafting away champions like Torvald. This caught the Chinese team off guard since no one else had done it to them, and it ended up resulting in Team Cryptic with a 4-1 victory and their first ever LAN championship. Team Cryptic's willingness to change and do things that the other top teams, who might have even been better than Team Cryptic, were unwilling to do, showcased the value of being able to adjust your strategy and make a difficult choice by daring to be different. If I could wildly proposition you on any specific thing or any specific rule that you can apply to gaming and your life, it would be daring to be different. The reason it can be difficult to dare to be different is because there's a lot of negatives. You could face humiliation, failure, and of course, the result is unknown of doing something that's never been done before. And I guess the moral of the story is being willing to accept defeat on your way to success. Thomas Edison had thousands of attempts at creating the light bulb, but when he finally did, you bet it was worth it. Team Cryptic took a risk. They did something that they'd never done before and weren't used to playing in this current meta, but it ended up panning out and giving them their first ever LAN championship in the Paladins esports scene. So hopefully these tips helped you. Hopefully you enjoyed listening to some of the habits that good professional players in esports have and can apply that to not only your high-level games but your casual games. Whether you're level 1 or 1000, hopefully these tips will guide you and help you in not only your gaming life but your real life as well. If there is anything to study, if there is anyone you should be taking advice from, it's probably the successful people in life. That's why I love studying those who are at the top, who have been at the top, and why that is the case. If you enjoyed the video, please like it, share it, and comment down below to let me know what you think. And if you want to keep the conversation rolling, go ahead and hit me up on my Twitter at Raynday Gaming or follow me on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Raynday. As always, my friends, I appreciate your support, love that you're watching, and remember to never give up, never stop gaming, and I'll see you all next time.